So our next guest, or our special guest this week, is Josh Harris. So Josh is a pretty impressive rider and runner. He finished 40th in the 2023 UCI Zwift World Championships. He was the winner of the 2022 Zwift Continental Hill Climb. He's also the world champ, the 2017 World Champs Marathon, and he's placed 18th in the Zwift Racing App and 3rd in ZwiftPower. Let's welcome Josh. Josh, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys, and congratulations on all the achievements this week to you three.
Thank you.
Oh, it's great, thank you.
Yep, some big milestones. Hey, Josh, again, thanks for your time. Maybe could you start by just giving us a little 30-second elevator pitch on what you've been doing and how you got into Zwifting?
Yeah, so I came from a running background pretty much my whole life and trained really hard and did a lot of Ks and eventually made the world champs for the marathon in 2017. From there, started to pick up some pretty serious injuries and the body started to slowly break down, one injury after another, which led to finding the bike. Enjoyed that. Did a season in real life in 2019 where I found I was pretty good, but probably lacked some of the skills that some of the elite riders have that have been doing it their whole life. So I went back to running, a few more injuries later, and then got a trainer to cross-train on and found out that I don't need those in real life skills to be successful on Zwift. And now another injury later and things started progressing, started improving, loving it, no restrictions, and yeah, just having the time of my life, honestly. It's so much fun.
No, it's a pretty awesome platform, especially from an injury perspective as well. But the skill sets you're talking about that you realized you didn't need to sort of worry too much about, what sort of skill sets were they?
Well, I guess I've been genetically gifted with some like a high VO2 max and endurance capacity given my background as a runner, and was able to transfer that across power-wise to cycling pretty easily. And so I guess those things have suited me well to once I've jumped on Zwift, and I think I've been able to hone that even further without any running at all in the last kind of 6-9 months.
Okay.
I'm not at the same level at all, but I find, when going up hills with my club mates, I can do it. But, when it comes to downhills or cornering, they just fly away from me. I'm like, I just stop pedaling when I go downhill. I go do a super tuck. What's this all about, pedaling downhill?
Yeah. I thought I was picking it up okay, but then when you race with people that are just elite at it, you just realise that they're just so much better. And I always found it quite scary because I didn't necessarily want to be there. It wasn't really my background. So, yeah, I'm enjoying Zwift because you can fly down some of those hills at 100k an hour without worrying.
I've got a quick question one of our viewers has got for you, Josh. John's asked, do you just train or do you race all the time? What's your preference there?
Yeah, good question. Initially, when I was just cross-training and that kind of thing, it was more training with the odd race here and there. And then in the little world champs training block, I like to do probably a lot of racing, but I still had some key training that I tried to fit in there as well. And actually, since world champs, I've pretty much only raced, and I've taken things to such a new level. And it's so much more fun. I don't think I'm going to go back to training at any point, to be honest. Just love it.
So,
great! It's so great to hear someone else say it was brilliant that they only race. Because everyone says to me, "Oh, you should train. You'd be so much better, if you did training programs." But race.
Just try and find the right races that targets everything. Bit of sprinting, bit of VO2 max, some longer races, and yeah, I think it's all good. A little bit of recovery days as well.
Okay. So how do you balance then that time you need between family and the racing and the recovery?
Yeah, so I've always had a pretty good life balance and tended to focus on that a little bit. So my job I wouldn't say is very stressful. I'm a substitute or relief teacher primarily, so go in to teach about 3 days a week, but I don't really have any responsibility there, which is nice. And then do a little bit of running coaching on top of that when in the free time. But overall, I'd say that I've got a pretty free schedule to fit in how I want. So it's good.
Because you're based down in Tasmania.
Yeah, down in Launceston. So enjoy it down here.
So do you get out and ride on the road much at all?
Not lately, no. I think I actually went out for 3 hours with my girlfriend on Sunday, which was, I think, the second ride outside that I'd done this year.
Okay.
Getting to the point where it's tempting to do some of those recovery rides outside. But yeah, I think those race days, which are probably a good 5 days a week, I'm happy to keep indoors and on the trainer.
Yep.
You haven't hit Richie up for to go for a ride?
Well, I actually saw him up at the pool when he came back, and he gave me his WhatsApp and said we should go for a ride one time, but he never got to me.
Oh, wow. We might have to reach out to Richie and ask him about it.
I don't think I would have went anyway. I don't like going outside.
Well, Richie Port?
Yeah. He's a Lonnie.
Oh, wow.
He's a Launceston boy as well.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah. So does he spend most of his time back in Tassie or overseas?
Yeah, since he retired, he's back in Launceston and trying to, I believe, I haven't really heard too much, but just set up a normal life down here with his kids and partner, and I know he loves it here. So it's cool to have people like that as role models locally.
Yeah, for sure.
To maintain your competitive edge, do you have to follow any special dietary requirements or nutrition stuff, given that you're racing most days and the I guess output that you're doing?
To be honest, I try and focus more on the number on the scales more than the specific food that I put in. So it's like at this stage of my athletic career, I'm probably more in it for fun. So I'm honestly not stressed at all about that. So I certainly treat myself to it's probably not the healthiest diet in the world, but the training hours that I put in, I think can counterbalance that. And as long as the weight stays kind of optimal, I think it's good for happiness and not going too bad, obviously.
You're right in the sweet spot, are you?
Yeah, hopefully.
Hey, quick question. I was talking about this yesterday. What's your thoughts on Pack Dynamics 4? Do you think it's changed racing?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think my answer is it depends on the circumstances. Like I've been in races where I felt like some breakaways and that kind of thing are more likely to occur, but then on the counter to that, there have been situations where you might be trying to go for a solo break, and I actually feel like it's because it seems easier to draft, it seems a lot harder to get away, and things just string out one by one and then they come back together. So I think it depends on the course, what riders are in the field, and that kind of thing. It's a bit different, but honestly, it hasn't taken too much to adapt to from me. And overall, I think when I want to be efficient, I think I can be quite efficient in the new system. So yeah, I'm quite neutral to it, but trying to learn all the ins and outs as well.
I've got another question from John online, who's asking, you were in AERO CT and now AERO. Has anything changed or any differences?
Yeah, so joined the community team for AERO when I was getting into Zwift, and honestly, that team that I rode for there, it really had that real community feel about it. The guys were they were right into their Zwift and the tactics and that kind of thing, which is fantastic. And then I transitioned across to the elite team, and they have some phenomenal power numbers, some of these guys. They're a great group of guys. We probably don't jump on the Discord and stuff like that like the community team do, and they probably aren't as focused on Zwift tactics and that kind of thing as the community team. That's probably the main difference, but they're obviously very powerful riders and have had a lot of success. Prior to me Zwifting, I know that they won the Zwift Academy a few times and that kind of thing. So yeah, they've put out some good riders for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How
I saw you originally. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I saw you originally through being on Ben Pitt's team, and he was always raving about you, and you were obviously also in ZRL with him. He suggested a couple of questions. One of them was, what setup do you use? Do you PC in direct connection to router or a potato connected via Wi-Fi?
So I've upgraded since I've taken the step up. I've got a new gaming computer, which has sped things up quite a bit. I'm not on direct connect at the moment. I'm using my Kicker 5 at this stage. I think I have a feeling it tends to read slightly higher than the Kicker 6. So at this stage, I'm back on the Kicker 5. So none of the fast race mode and that kind of thing, but on the 5 for now. Dual recording with InfoCrank, which is one of AERO's partners, so they sent me that down, which has been awesome. And yeah, that's the setup. But got the Kicker 6 there in case I need it for any of the real top level stuff down the track and that kind of thing. And my girlfriend's been riding that as well.
So do you use your race bike on your trainer, Josh, or you got a separate bike for that? Yeah,
so that's pretty much like the only half decent bike that I have. So at this stage, it's probably starting to get quite worn and that kind of thing. But that bike, the Zwift's more important to me than outside. So I'll be using that as long as I can for sure.
Where do you see yourself going with Zwift? What's your next goal?
I just found something that's so fun and so limitless. Like every race, I feel like you can just push yourself. Like that finish line is like life or death kind of thing. Even like a crappy local, like small field race, it's so much fun. So, in terms of goals, I'd like to have another chance or more at like things like the World Champs and that kind of thing. Because I think that where I'm at now, I can probably make some kind of mark on something like that. Not necessarily be up there for the win and that kind of thing, but I certainly think that I can be competitive in the right circumstance, course, and that kind of thing. And then this winter for us, I'm pretty into the chasing tour, and so I want to win that. And like the Giro or the Chasing Pink coming up, I'd love to win one of those as well. So they're kind of the short-term goals for now.
What did you think of the Worlds format? I thought it was embarrassing, personally, that they built this beautiful world and they used a fairly average course for the first round and then the stupid burritos as they were. I just thought it was poor, the format that they had. Yeah,
like I always, regardless of the format, because they are often quite different, like I try and make myself, as familiar with it and get the best out of myself that I can. I think it was always going to be tough for me, not being a sprinter at all. It was going to always come down to a sprint. I tried some breakaways on that course in the weeks leading up, and I knew that was not going to happen. So I just stayed as patient as I could to save myself for that last 45 seconds. I mean, it is what it is. I really enjoyed the format of the second and third race. Like I think those courses were definitely better, and those formats were good. It was just, the Rolling Highlands course, there's not that much to it for elite races, to be honest. Like we can all get up a 2% gradient pretty comfortably. But yeah, I love the experience of being there and that kind of thing. And hope to get a chance to do it again in a format that maybe suits me more.
Yeah, hopefully next time. I mean, you got pretty close though, didn't you?
Yeah. I think the burrito and the breakaway pack, that was probably, I don't think I quite would have got 30th, but I missed the jump a bit by not necessarily realizing that group had 2 seconds, and we could probably go earlier and draft through them. So things that you learn and that kind of thing. But I beat some good riders. It's a solid result for a non-sprinter.
Yeah.
Well, you've still got some pretty admirable sprinting numbers, that's for sure.
Getting there. I've been working on it a lot with the racing.
Yeah, that's impressive. Hey Josh, what can you tell us about the beer mile?
Yeah, so beer mile started off as something a bit of fun with me and my running mates back in the day. And then, like a lot of things in my life, I've thought, I can be better at this, and I kind of worked hard to be better at that. And before long, I had the Australian record, and then a little bit down the track, that became the world record, and then some cool opportunities along the way with it as well.
And so, no thoughts of trying to recontest it? Because I was looking at some of the more recent times, and it seems like some people are pretty serious about it.
Yeah, so I think I'm still like 7th fastest ever, but it was funny. I was actually gearing up to go to the Worlds in Belgium in, I think, October 2022 when I picked up like another injury, and within about 3 weeks I binned that idea, and that's when I bought the Kicker 5 and started getting serious on Zwift.
How much of the training involves drinking, and how much of it involves running?
Now, pretty much all running.
And is this still the optimal strategy of having a little walk as you're running, or have people honed it?
Yeah, you've got to drink the beer within that 10 meters at the end of the lap.
Oh, right.
So basically, the fastest way is to get it at the 10 meters, open it, and by the time you walk the 10 meters, it's gone. So you're ready for the last part of the main part of the lap.
Wow.
And do you get a choice of beer, or is it just whatever they get?
Got to be 5% alcohol and 355 mil or above.
Oh,
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So no mucking around.
No, that's it.
Now, I've been told in the comments here that SM reckons that you are the chasing tour god. And then there's a following question from Roy, who says, what are your thoughts on the chasing series? So how have you found that, I guess?
Yeah, I've personally loved it. And I know some people, it depends on everyone's situation, but personally, I've absolutely loved it. They've adopted a time gap for the GC competition, most of the GC competitions, which I think based on the first tour, I think that worked. And I think with the big fields now, that's going to work pretty well compared to some other tours that go off GC and off the fastest time. And being an Aussie, like the times that I can race, like I'm never going to be competitive in some of those other tours, which is frustrating. So chasing tour has been awesome for me. I know there are a few people with a couple of little tweaks and things that could be better for them as well. So hopefully in the future, John takes on board some of that to make it even better next year. But for me, loving it, and I'm hoping to be able to do every race of the year, to be honest. But winter coming here, so we've got to avoid sickness and all that kind of thing.
Yep. Well, it's the best time though as well. It's not too good being outside. Is this the first time you've done the chasing tour?
Yeah. So I didn't participate last year, but I think I saw Ben Pitt. Maybe I think I saw nightly rides in the tour from him and thought, what's that all about? Kind of thing. Whereas I think they've expanded this year to have more times. I'm pretty sure he was racing quite late Australian time last year. So first time, and as soon as I started the first tour, I was into it, and now I'm kind of at the top of the standings. It's motivation to keep doing every one and to hold those other riders off and not give them a chance.
Do you think that's going to become a bit of a cross to bear?
What's that? Sorry?
As in, now that you're at the top, you've got to stay there. Is it going to become a bit of a burden to have to do all the remaining races to keep that position?
Look, I don't think so. I mean, I'll certainly be marked in every race that I do. But I'm actually looking forward to the chasing pink compared to the classics. I found the classics difficult where every position mattered. You're stressing mid-race about trying to like little things like, oh, I'm in a breakaway, but what if the pack catch? Little things like that were really stressful because every place mattered, and it came down to the last day. I was second the whole classics until the very last time slot. I actually got a surprise win there, to be honest. But I'm looking forward to a time gap where at the moment I feel strong enough that on most of the stages, worst case, I should be within the first few seconds of the winners and that kind of thing, hopefully. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of attacks and stuff like that on me if I do get into a good spot, though. So prepared for that, I guess.
And have you found that there's been a bit of a concerted effort to try and come up with strategies to defend you and defeat you?
Yeah, in the first tour, there absolutely were, but not necessarily by not by the team that were actually my nearest rivals. So that was quite interesting. And then from there, like I made sure that I tried to for a stage or two. I got one of my teammates to try and come and help me out. Just to help defend a little bit, so I didn't have to chase every single move. So little things like that definitely help. And then, there's things that people will probably try, like cross time zone type setups, depending on the stages and who the competition are. There are a lot of different tactics at play, and I think it allows for something different and something quite cool.
Yeah, no, it's certainly been a topic of conversation for us, that's for sure. And Josh, what's your FTP?
It would be about 350 watts at the moment, I'd say, give or take a little bit. I haven't done an FTP test on Zwift. The last FTP test I did was up at the Institute of Sport in 2019 when I was actually doing a little bit of riding outside. So I haven't done it on Zwift, but yeah, pretty confident it's around 350.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that in weight? Watts per kilo?
A good 5.5 or so.
Is the setup at the Institute quite similar to what it is on Zwift, or is it different?
They put me through a ramp test, so it was very similar. Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of that, coaching. How's so you've got an online coaching business?
Yeah. So I work with Run to PB as one of their coaches. We've got coaches all across Australia and possibly even a couple international now, and we coach athletes online around the world to achieve their running goals. I've been doing that for about 3 years now, and at the moment I've got about 20 athletes and stuff like that. So it's nice to stay involved in running and use some of my skills I've picked up along the way to help out other athletes.
And how have you found some of the people you've been coaching? Have they gone on to achieve any pretty significant results?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the majority of them I would class as serious recreational runners. So, that they may not be elite, but they take it really seriously and they really, really enjoy it. And so with the amount of athletes I've coached, it's hard to pinpoint kind of one story, but the majority of them have had some great results. And it's, at the end of the day, consistency in their training, it's the same as cycling. The more consistent you are, the more work you put in, the more likely it is that you're gonna reach those goals. And it's no different with all these athletes.
How fantastic is that? Hey, I want to say, Josh, thanks very much for joining us and for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been good fun.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate your insight and your experience and your comments and listening to how you've you've managed to take Zwift by the ear and give it a good thumping.
Yeah, appreciate it, fellas, and good on you for the work that you're doing to promote it.
No worries. It's all fun for us too. So